So today's episode of the Vegas 10 features 10 great Italian spots in Las Vegas that you can enjoy. And in no particular order, right? These are all 10 restaurants that we're confident if you go to these Italian restaurants, you're going to find yourself walking out satisfied. But there is a lot of difference to these Italian restaurants. I mean, you have the foundation in Italian food. We all know that. But the atmospheres are very different in a lot of them. And the sort of event that you would go there for, I think, is also different, Matt, in the sense that if you want a romantic date night, that's a lot different than if you're in Las Vegas with 5 of your buddies and you want to go rip it up. So we have a little bit of something for everyone in this installment of the Vegas 10 as we look at 10 great Italian restaurants.
Yeah, one of the things we tried to do, certainly some people are coming to the Strip and we wanted to get some Strip ones on there. Some of these people, maybe you're a Vegas regular and you've been here 10 different times. Well, what we wanted to do as well is maybe throw a few out there that you might have overlooked because they're not at one of the big casino properties or they're a little bit off of the Strip. And maybe you want to make that trip because, hey, you've been here 10 different times. You've tried some of these other restaurants that we're going to talk about on this list and you want to try something new. So we did that, trying to give you as robust a list here. And hey, even if you're not staying on the Strip, if you're staying up in Summerlin, we even got something for you there as well.
Before we get going, just want to say hello to Robert and Elaine and Jason that are all watching. And then Trev had a question over on Twitch. He said, will you guys post the full list in text on Facebook after the live stream in case we miss part of it? And I think absolutely that's something that we'll do. We even have a couple of honorable mention ones that didn't quite make the 10 best in our opinion, but they're right there on the cusp. So yeah, absolutely. For the top 10, that is very easy for us to do. We will be happy to do it. So let's start here with number 1 on the list of the 10. I'll start with Panvino. So Panvino is a place that's actually right by the airport, and it's just off Las Vegas Boulevard on Sunset, but it's a spot that's been around here in Las Vegas for a long time. And what I really like, as you can see there in the bottom left corner of your screen, you can see that Panvino actually won an award for the top Italian restaurant in 2014. They've been around here in Las Vegas and been a feature and a staple for a very long time. And the thing that I like about Panvino is that it's great for a romantic date night, but it's also really nice as a good lunch spot. So if you want Italian food, but you don't want the really heavy Italian food, it's one of those places where the plates are carefully and thoughtfully prepared. It's convenient if you're staying on the Strip. It's got a cool view where you see Mandalay Bay and all of that kind of framed in, but then you also get some of the airport action. So there's planes coming and going. It's right there, literally across Sunset from the airport itself. Pretty convenient no matter where you're staying on the Strip. If that's the case, also easy access if you're coming from one side of town or the other. Panvino, again, been around for a really long time. I've never had a bad experience there. And as you see, it's not cheap, but it's also not crazy expensive. So yeah, the ravioli 4 cheese, the lasagna, $29, $28. So this is the sort of place where you'll go in, and if you have 2 people, you're on a date, you'll easily spend north of $100. But at the same time, especially if you're having a couple of drinks, but at the same time, it is quality restaurant that I've always enjoyed every time that I've gone there.
Mahoney, this was a consensus. Yeah, this is a consensus across the board for us here. I mean, this was one of the ones we all voted on. And, as Dave mentioned, I think it's probably good for a nice little romantic evening. And it's a good spot as well to take someone, if you've been, like we're talking about, if you come to Vegas, you've been here 10 times, this is a hidden gem.
Well, that, and you absolutely get the airport views, you get everything that goes along with that. The prices, I would say, are cheaper than what you are going to find at most of the high-end, or at least the equivalent of the high-end restaurants that you're going to find on the Strip. Not cheap, but super, like I said, it's not going to completely break the bank when it comes to that. And like Dave, you mentioned, this place has been around for a very long time. You knew this was going to be a special night if you ended up here for a date.
So number 2 is Bootlegger, and Bootlegger is a very different vibe from what you were going to find. As you can see, their website actually looks like it was made in 1984, but that's because it really is like an old school family-run type of place, and this is on the very south end of the Strip. So if you're familiar where these South Outlet malls are on Las Vegas Boulevard, which is south even of Town Square, which is south of Mandalay Bay, all of that stuff, it's still accessible and only a couple of miles away, but you kind of feel like you're getting down there on South Las Vegas Boulevard before you get to the place. And when you walk in, they're kind of almost rude to you. And that's part of the charm of it. It's not like you're at Panvino where, there's going to be some guy in a 3-piece suit waiting to guide you to your table. It's like, they're like, how many your party? What do you want? It's like, they're kind of grumpy. It's kind of got a dingy, like older Italian vibe, like you'd see in, a movie where like there's some gangster sitting there eating a huge plate of spaghetti by himself. They have performers on a regular basis that play all of the stuff that you'd expect. Rhino Man actually said Bootleggers is on our list too. It's not the overly fancy place. They have a big gaming bar in there as well. It's got a vibe to it, though, and that's why it made the list for me. Bootleggers is a fun place to go because of the atmosphere, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, this is completely different from a lot of the places that are going to be on this list, and that's why we actually really loved putting it on the list here. Another consensus across the board here. All three of us voted for this one, been there multiple times, and whenever you take a look at the Bootlegger, whenever you walk in, if you've never been before, you're going to say, what were these guys talking about? Like, what is going on here? Trust me, you will learn to love what Bootlegger brings to the table. I mean, it is definitely not walking into some of these other restaurants that we're going to talk about on this list here, but you will grow to love what you get out of Bootlegger. And again, it's another one of those old school places that's been here for a long time, Mahoney.
Well, yeah, you're right. It's been a Las Vegas local secret. I wouldn't say a well-kept secret, but it's definitely been a locals go-to for many years for many reasons too. As Dave mentioned, they have got the gaming bar in there, and along with the gaming bar comes 24-hour service, and that is a key essential part of the Bootleggers business, and which I've always loved. I mean, when you are looking to eat something that's good, that's not fast food, that's not like a complete dive, the Bootlegger has been the place to go to on right off the Las Vegas Strip. It's just 5 minutes south of Mandalay Bay, not even if you are if you make all the lights. And the other key part about the Bootlegger that's great if you are a Las Vegas local is that they are available on Postmates, and they're also available on DoorDash, and they do a really good job of packaging up their food and transporting it well. There's some Italian places that just don't have that, their food just doesn't hold up with delivery, and the Bootlegger is one of them when it comes to how they package and how they get your food delivered to you, that they know it's going to still be quality when you get it 20 or 30 minutes later.
And Dave, you and I are suckers for live music, so anytime you can add live music to an atmosphere, you can pretty much count me in.
Yeah, I mean, it really, especially if you're sitting there and kind of like we talked about a dingy Italian place and there's some guy that's singing Sinatra, it really just kind of brings it home. Totally shifting gears again. And again, as we run down 10 of the best Italian restaurants in Las Vegas, these are kind of all over the place and by design, right? And if you guys have some in chat that you want to share with us as we're going along, happy to look at those as well. But this one over at the Palms, closed at this moment right now while we're doing this is Vetri Cucina. And so this was inspired by a restaurant that was a huge hit in Southern Philly, and then they made the move to Las Vegas. The thing about this place is this is, out of all of the Italian restaurants that we have, the one that has the most impressive wow factor of all of them. So the reason why I say that is the food is really unique. And when I say that, I say unique in the sense that I looked at the menu the first time I went in there and I'm like, what in the hell is all of this stuff? I don't even know how to pronounce it, much less what it is. So we asked for a couple of recommendations. They brought out the charcuterie board that had a whole bunch of stuff on it. Everything is delicious, but it is very different from your traditional Italian menu. But what really makes this place special, if you want to come to Las Vegas and wow the person that you're with or the group that you're with, because it's really good for groups as well, it's on the 56th floor of the Palms, and it has got a spectacular view of the entire strip, Matt. So when you walk in from that first moment, it is a great view. It feels fancy, but it's not crazy expensive. But just know that when you walk in, the menu's probably going to look strange to you. But in my experiences, several times I've been there, I've thought everything has been great.
No, absolutely. Pro tip, the bread is amazing there. I'm a bread dude, so you'll probably hear me talk about bread a couple of different times on here. Love the bread there. And secondly, whenever you make your reservation, tell them that you would like to request a table close to the window, because there are tables that, Dave, if you remember the first time you and I went, we kind of drew the short end of the straw. We made last minute reservations. We weren't sure where we were going to go eat that night, and we ended up at a table kind of in the middle of the restaurant. Don't get me wrong, food fantastic. You can still see some things at a distance, but whenever you're at one of those tables right next to the window, you can see the entire Las Vegas Valley, and Mahoney, that's where the wow factor really does come in.
Yeah, I mean, and the ambiance there, and I feel like when we do see the Palms reopen, the Palms has, the $1 billion or close to the $1 billion, the $800 million that they pumped into that thing with the renovation over the last few years has really turned the Palms into an amazing casino. I mean, Red Rock, as for locals, or Green Valley Ranch were usually considered the two best in Las Vegas, but I would say the Palms with the renovation and the addition of all the amazing restaurants, including this one, really has stepped up their game. And I, for one, am looking forward to it opening. And when you get up that high in the Las Vegas Valley and you're able to look out across from it, even with all the lights at night, it really does set a mood and makes the food taste that much better.
So there is number 3. On to number 4 here. This is Capo's, and it's off the Strip. And if you're not familiar with Capo's, I mean, it's been a staple in Las Vegas for a long time. And it's actually in an old building that, believe it or not, used to be a Hooters on Sahara Boulevard many years ago.
It was a Hooters.
West Sahara. And so when you think of that, you're like, well, that sounds like it sucks. It doesn't. So it's totally different from that vibe. And it's the one true speakeasy restaurant that I've been to where you walk in and it looks like you walk into a coat closet and then you pick up a phone and they go, what do you want? And you're like, I want to eat food. And then you see a little thing open and then the whole wall opens up. And it really is a cool experience when you go in there. It's got such an authentic, like, gangster vibe to it. It's really a unique experience, Matt, that I would recommend at least trying out once. But, if you're staying down on the Strip, you're talking about probably a 15 to 20 minute drive or so. But as you see, like, it's all the dark reds in there. They've got the kind of grumpy bartender. They've got a bunch of pictures of the gangsters hanging on the wall. Same thing. They'll have live music, but it really does have like an underground club type of vibe, which is my favorite part of Capo's.
And if you pro tip here, maybe you're going on a first date and it is a girl that or a girl or a guy that you don't find particularly attractive, this is definitely where you want to go because it is dark as hell in there. I mean, it is very, very dark in this restaurant. I mean, legitimately, guys, like, make sure your phone is charged because you're going to need to light up the menu and things like that. But
I think they actually give you the little lights with the menus because it's so dark. There's a little light they give you to see because it's that dark. But it's nuts. And again,
this is another one of those things, though, Dave. I think you mentioned it, but I mean, it's a very short Uber ride. I mean, like, it's off the Strip, but it's not necessarily an inconvenience if you're going back
Uber
to the
ride.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, if you're going back to the Strip for a night out, then it's not a big deal to hop.
The money you'll save on drinks there alone is worth the price of admission. Love the place, and they have if you go on like a Friday or a Saturday night, always some interesting entertainment. I wouldn't say it's the best in the city, but it's certainly some of the most interesting performers that you will see. A lot of Frank Sinatra impersonators or cover artists who fancy themselves to be one of the old Rat Pack guys who love to perform in there, and I've seen it all.
You're exactly right, Mahoney. It's kind of like every time that I've been there, you're like, this guy can sing well and he's entertaining, but I'm fairly certain he's half shithoused right now. I mean, it really is that vibe where I'm thinking he's fairly drunk, as Stacy mentioned over on Facebook. Sometimes they'll have a magician that's in there as well. Lots of charm, very unique.
Oh, I have seen him. I had blocked that out. I had seen a magician inside of Capo's. It's been a hot minute since I've seen some dinner magic happening, but yes, I think 2 times ago when we were at Capo's, we did. And the pro tip, if you are going to start off your evening there, if you notice the bust a cap, the mushroom cap stuffed with Italian ham, black olives, roasted bell peppers,
awesome.
peppers,
Peppers.
breadcrumbs. One of the absolute best appetizers you can have at any Italian restaurant, and it really kicks the night off there. But I've yet to have a bad meal. Their pasta is always really good. Prices are very reasonable too. I would say out of all the restaurants on our list today, this and maybe Bootleggers are probably the 2 most reasonable on the list.
Well, I'm going to challenge you on that because this next one coming in at number 5 is Batista's Hole in the Wall. So the thing about Batista's where you're going to save a mint is that, and get this, I'm not exaggerating, all the free wine that you can drink. Now, granted, it's not going to be the fanciest bottles that you would ever get. In fact, they just bring it over in crafts and they set it on your table. But if you're the sort of guy that likes to or gal that likes to sit down and have 1 or 2 or 3 bottles in a meal, it adds up really quickly. Batistas will come by and it's not fancy. Then, they bring you a salad in a plastic bowl, and then they bring you these crafts of wine that sometimes get spilled all over the table. But the main dishes, they'll set you back around that $25 to $35 mark. But when you consider that you're getting all of your wine for free, and you can choose between red or white, or they'll bring you one of each if you want to, it really is a special place. And they've got all the pictures of the celebrities on the wall that have been in there, and you see all kinds of recognizable, everyone from David Hasselhoff to Tom Cruise, or just a couple off the top of my head. And I don't know if he's still there for sure, because it's been a little while since I last went. But there's a dude that has been 95 years old for the past 15 years that will come by your table with his accordion. There he is. And he'll be like, "Where are you from?" And you'll tell him where you're from. And he starts singing a little song. And he's only about 4 feet tall, and he is just a delight. And what I really love about him is that if you give him a good tip, he'll come back by your table and pretend like he doesn't remember you. He'll be like, "Where are you from?" "All right." And start singing the exact same song for you again. And either he's messing with you, or he just wants another $5 or $10 tip, whatever you hooked him up with. Batista's right off the strip. So if you're at the intersection of Las Vegas Boulevard and Flamingo, and you go just one click east, it's right there on the left-hand side. It's where you would go if you were going to park your car, get dropped off by an Uber over at the Link and the High Roller. So it's walking distance, or it's super convenient to the strip. And Batista's, Matt, has some of the most character of any Italian restaurant, I would venture to say, in the entire country.
Yeah, and this is definitely one of those, if you're going with a group, that's where you're going to have a really good time. So we wanted to include this one again, another one that was across the board here for us. If you're going with a bigger group, if you're with 10 of your buddies or something like that, I would highly, highly recommend Batista's. The food is good. The free wine is flowing. You have the accordion guy. The atmosphere in there doesn't make you feel weird or anything like that if you're the type that wants to kind of take it a little bit more casually because you're not really going out to the nightclub or whatever it might be later that night. So that's where this really fits in on the list, Mahoney. And again, it's like, yeah, the things that you can do in Vegas here, we're going to have everything that's going to run you $500, a bill minimum. And then something like Batista's, where literally you get out of there for less than $100.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the menu that we've got up on the screen right now, I mean, the fact that they've got all, there's like 4 price points for the entire menu for all the entrees, and you see that comes with the salad or the soup, the garlic bread, the free house wine, and I mean, and that starts at $25 for a all-in meal per person. So I mean, theoretically, 2 people can get out of there for under $70, and in Las Vegas, down literally like a stone's throw from the Strip. It's hard to beat, and as you said, yes, the ambiance and the food hard to beat, and you'll be hard pressed to find any other place like that here in the United States.
So just to give you one further endorsement on how much I like Batista is when my wife and I were getting married and we had a whole bunch of people coming in to town for it, and we had our rehearsal dinner. We actually did it at Batista's just because it's a nice laid back place. It's fun for everyone. There were some kids that were there. We didn't want to bring, kids into a super fancy place and make the parents uncomfortable. Like, you can be loud and everyone's drinking and having a great time, and it's not something where you feel out of place, even if you roll in there in, your shorts and a t-shirt right after. I think that might be right. Well, anyway, that's the lounge area where you sit to have drinks. So we definitely sat there, but the main part happened in the room over. But Batista's is a great place. Now on to number 6 here, Matt. Carbone over at Aria, and I'll let you take the lead here because this is one of your favorite spots.
Yeah, now this is on the opposite end of things. It's going to cost you a pretty penny over at Carbone at Aria, but in my opinion, one of the best restaurants of any sort in all of Las Vegas here. You're going to want to get the veal parm. You're going to want to get the spicy rigatoni. That is where it is at. If you take a look, there it is right there. There's that veal parm with that bone still on it right there. It is a big, big piece of meat. So you can get that spicy rigatoni, share it between 2 people. You'll be good to go. They bring you a bread basket, and with that bread basket, they also bring you some meats and some cheeses to go along with that as well. That is free of charge at the end of your meal. They bring you a shot of limoncello, just all the little things like that make you feel like you're getting extra stuff. You're paying for it. It's built into the price, but still makes you feel like you're getting some extra stuff as well. A great extensive wine list there. And again, right there at the Aria. So you are center strip in the heart of everything. So if you've got show plans or whatever, you're going to the club or whatever it might be later on that night, you're literally right there center strip, can make easy access to any place that you need to get to. Carbone, real high up on my list.
And one of the things too for the alcohol aficionados, if you're in Las Vegas and you're looking to have yourself a unique, alcohol experience, their rum cart, one of the best rum carts in the world. They have some really high end rum that they offer up. And if you're looking to, rum is quickly becoming one of the new hottest spirits, even though it's been around for 1,000 years. But in recent years, the craft rum has become very big and very popular, and Carbone is embracing that with a rum cart.
So one thing that is worth mentioning about Carbone is that, Matt, you mentioned that it is definitely a higher end place, but because of that, the portions aren't ridiculous, right? I mean, some people really want like huge portions, but for me, especially if I'm going out on, say, a date night, the last thing I want is to feel totally bogged down because I've eaten just this pile of lasagna. You still get robust portions, but because it's so flavorful, it's not the sort of thing where you're just trying to shovel as much of it in your mouth as possible. You're eating probably less, which it makes for a more pleasant after dinner experience as well. But definitely one that's going to cost you a little bit more money, a higher end one. Moving on to number 7 here.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was going to say, when you go to their website, no, there are no prices on there.
That means it's expensive, yo.
That is usually an indicator that it's going to be a pricey night, but well worth it because they are super highly rated, and the food there and the service is really hard to beat.
All right, Matt, if you want to run on this one as well, coming in at number 7 on the 10 best restaurants.
I'm going to throw this to Mahoney's. This was his lone wolf right here.
Yeah, so this is Piero's and another classic here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, Piero's is a Las Vegas institution. If you were talking about, where all the old school movers and shakers and everybody, all the judges and all the lawyers and everybody who like the old school gangsters used to eat, and you're still looking for, some of the old school Las Vegas entertainment, Piero's is the place. I mean, it's not food that's going to, surprise you. It's certainly everything is amazing, but it is your classic Italian, high-end Italian restaurant. The ambiance is absolutely amazing. The service is phenomenal, and the performers that they have inside of the Piero's are always some of the best in the world. So Pia Zadora had like a mini residency there for many years. She's friends with the owners and performed there constantly. And the Piero's is just, like I said, one of the absolute classic Italian Las Vegas places. So if you're looking for, maybe if you have a late night business meeting and you don't want to do it on the Strip, or maybe if you don't want to be around a bunch of tourists, Piero's definitely the place to go check out. Another Las Vegas hidden gem.
Yeah, and it's been open since 1982, right? So I mean, it's something that, like you said, has been around forever. And when a restaurant has made it for almost 40 years anywhere, that's a real testament to how good they are, especially when it's right off Las Vegas Boulevard and all of the constant competition that's rolling into town. They still manage to survive. So take that for what it's worth. They've been here for almost 40 years for a reason. Matt?
And
that's where I was going with that. Yeah, that's where I was going with that, Dave, is again, another one of these that is, quote unquote off the Strip, but literally block off the Strip. It's Convention Center in Paradise right there. So, I mean, this is not even an Uber ride. If you want to walk it, you could walk it.
Yep. All right. On number 8 here, this is much different than Piero's and the exact opposite of what you would find in, say, Capo's. This is Lavo at Palazzo. And so when you think of Lavo at Palazzo, you might go, isn't that a club? Yes. Is it also a restaurant? Yes. In fact, it's an Italian restaurant, and the food is really quite delicious. If you go here for dinner, though, it legitimately will just eventually turn into a raging party where sometimes people are dancing on the tables. They actually have a pretty kick-ass brunch as well that's become popular over the years here in Las Vegas too. So, I mean, you can go there earlier in the day, but as you can see, I mean, it's a lot of the things that you would expect. The calamari, as you see there, the spaghetti and meatballs, the garlic bread, the salmon, obviously great wine selection. But this place full on turns into a high-end club as the night goes along. So Lavo at Palazzo, again, very different from some of the other ones that we've mentioned, and it's got a vibe to it. But same thing, Matt, as we were talking about earlier, if you're coming in with a big group and your idea is to rage here in Las Vegas, then Lavo might be a pretty good choice for you.
Yeah, exactly why we wanted to put this on the list here, because this just shows kind of the diversity that you can get in Vegas, especially when we're talking about different Italian restaurants. I mean, everything from the super cheap that we're talking about all the way up to this, where literally if you want to make the whole entire night right at the same place, you can absolutely do that. You can eat dinner, hang out, and then you can get a table at the club. And the other thing here, guys, pro tip, the chocolate cake. Also, I have a sweet tooth. The chocolate cake is about this friggin' big. It is like literally like 50 layers or something. It's unbelievable. There it is. Look at that thing. Look at that damn thing. Look at that damn thing. I mean, like, seriously, get a piece of that whenever you go. I mean, it's absurd how big the piece of chocolate cake is, but it is phenomenal as well. And again, just Mahoney, it's what Vegas does, right? I mean, we have everything from the Batista's hole in the walls that we were talking about to right here where we're talking about Lavo, where literally it turns into a nightclub as the evening progresses.
Yeah, I mean, who knew that it was, basically a 5-star restaurant? I for the first, Lavo has been around Las Vegas for, years and years. I mean, 10 plus years now at this point as far, but I want to say is when it first opened, I had no clue that it was in fact an amazing restaurant as well. And I think that some people may just initially associate it with the fact that it is, turns into such a hot spot later on at night, but their food there, absolutely amazing. And as you said, the pro tip, definitely go do the brunches there. The Bloody Marys are to die for.
Yeah, good patio as well. All right, so on to number 9, and this one is in Summerlin. So for those of you that are watching this that are from out of town, Summerlin is on the west side of town. So that's near Red Rock Canyon as well as Red Rock Casino, all that stuff. But this is right there by a little south of Tivoli Village. It's at the intersection of Charleston, right where it changes into Rampart. And North Italia is probably, as we sit right now today, my favorite Italian restaurant in Las Vegas that's not down on the strip. So North Italia is a phenomenal restaurant that has nice open air. So basically one entire wall just opens up to the patio outside. And so you get like a nice breeze going through there, especially with everything that's going on right now. It's kind of like an indoor-outdoor feel. But Matt, you mentioned the bread and how bread is such a big part, especially of Italian restaurants. Their bread is phenomenal. They have this like this cheese that you can put on some of the bread. That's just, everything is really, really flavorful. It's not the sort of place where it's going to totally break the bank. It is a more expensive than you'd find with some of the other places that we mentioned that are more of the bargains on this list. But North Italia, easy to get to, easy to park at or get dropped off at, and it's the same thing, worth the drive to the west side of town. North Italia is one of my favorite spots in the entire city, and that's not just Italian restaurants. If I'm picking, maybe even my top 10 in all of Las Vegas, North Italia makes the cut there too.
Yeah, as you mentioned, if you're in town there's lots of reasons that people come in town and stay at like a Red Rock or a JW Marriott or the Suncoast or whatever for conventions or business meetings or different things or whatever. If you want to get out of that and go to a restaurant that is really real close to all of that, that's where North Italia comes in. Another restaurant that all three of us have eaten at together various times for events and things. And it's one of those deals, as far as the vibe goes, it feels pretty cool in there. Like, you don't necessarily have to dress super nice. You wouldn't want to be underdressed because it is in a super nice part of town. So everybody's typically kind of looking good, but you don't have to be dressed like you're going to the club or anything like that to get in there. And just that when they open up the wall, the open air, the hustle and bustle that's going on in there, Mahoney, we've had several good times at that place. And again, Dave, you and I are the wine drinkers. We keep going back, but really good choice of wines at that place as well. And everything you're looking for in a very nice Italian restaurant.
And they're accommodating too. We actually, if you guys remember, we did my engagement party there many years ago with, and they were, I think we had, maybe 15 people or more with us who ended up coming that night. So they were very accommodating and putting together.
The girls brought decorations that they put up, and we had a special cake that we had brought, and so they stored that in the back. And I mean, there's, like you said, they really went above and beyond. And that's without even knowing just how incredibly famous Mahoney is. And so
Very
it was
famous.
very nice of them to accommodate
Right.
just us normal plebes like they did. So
And
North Italia, definitely something worth checking out.
And the prices are very reasonable. The Las Vegas location is run incredibly well. I mean, North Italia they do have many locations across the country. I think they're in about 8 or 9 different states. But the Las Vegas, the location in Summerlin is perfect for the if you're out on the west side of town and if you're looking for something that's outdoor, and then you're not going to have to fight tooth and nail to get a reservation on like a normal weekday you can roll into, and you're not going to break the bank as well. So the service and everything else there, we can't recommend highly enough, and that speaks loudly for a restaurant that does have that many locations.
It's right in my hood. I've eaten there a ton of times. Dave, I'm boring. I get the chicken parm. I freaking love it, dude. Like I love the chicken parm there. It comes with some pasta. Yeah, it comes with some pasta as well. I mean, I get it pretty much every single time. I mean, whatever. Call me boring if you will. I love it. I love it.
Find something that you like and stick with it. All right, rounding out 10 best Italian restaurants in Las Vegas. Here is number 10, and this is Lago at Bellagio. The wife and I went here on our first anniversary when we first started dating, and this place is phenomenal. But as you see, the view of the Bellagio fountains is really what sets this place apart from really anywhere else in the entire world. So getting a seat on the patio, if at all possible, is something that I would highly recommend. Obviously, as you'd expect, the demand for those tables is significant. So getting a reservation well in advance is important. But man, you talk about scenery. I mean, we were talking about Vetri earlier over at the Palms and overlooking the city, sitting basically in the fountains at the Bellagio does not get much more spectacular than that.
No, I mean, you get the mist, like the mist hit, like you are basically in the fountains right there. I mean, like, as you mentioned, there's a couple other restaurants there at Bellagio that have it, but I mean, this one right here is so amazing when you can secure one of those tables out on the patio, and you really do. I mean, we talk about the wow factor, as you mentioned, Dave, at Vetri, but I mean, this might actually be the number one wow factor. If you can get one of those tables and you're out there, and then when they fire up the fountains, it never gets old. Even if you're standing out on the, outside of the railing, it definitely never gets old when you're basically part of the show.
Yeah, they've got some great sommeliers there as well, and I mean the food's phenomenal. The price, when you look at the price, right up front, they're like they've got the $4 signs, and you're like, how much is the $4 signs? Yeah, it's gonna be one of the more expensive restaurants in Las Vegas, but I mean for a view like that, for your proximity to the Las Vegas, to the Bellagio fountains here in Las Vegas, you can't find a place that's closer, and you're not gonna find a place that you can experience anything quite like that. And you're right. If you want to wow somebody, be it your wife for an anniversary, somebody on a business meeting, whatever it may be, the fountains is the way to go.
Yeah, and I mean, there's people that will actually eat at Mon Ami Gabi across the street at Paris because
we do that because we don't have that kind of money,
right? Yeah, right. So it's just one step removed. But no, I mean, if you go to Lago, you're definitely going to pay for that experience. But well worth it if you want a great Italian meal and you really want, like Mahoney said, to wow somebody. Real quick to round things out, we got some honorable mentions here. Great Italian restaurants as well. But Mahoney, who did you pick for honorable mention?
I picked Nora's, another Las Vegas staple, been around for about 15 years. They've got a phenomenal bar. The food's nice. And again, if you look at the inside, the ambiance is phenomenal. And I'm going to say some of the absolute best service in town. And one other thing that I love, their takeout, phenomenal. Their delivery, phenomenal. And the price point is absolutely amazing. So if you're just looking for something a little bit off the strip, it's right there on Flamingo, not too far from the Palms. So, again, another $15 Uber there and back. And well worth the price of admission. And, like I said, just an absolutely fun little family-owned place with some really great food.
Yeah, Nora's it really is great. Esther's Kitchen for me is my honorable mention real quick. So if you're staying in downtown Las Vegas, this is right in the heart of the Arts District. Very, very thoughtful and unique dishes. I mean, you can even see the character of this place just sort of looking at the picture here. The wood paneling on the walls, the tables aren't overly fancy. It's a unique place, but I would recommend same thing as we talked about with a couple of these other places, making sure that you book in advance because it is so popular. It does service the downtown. downtown area. Those tables really fill up very quickly on Friday and Saturday nights. But as you see, a nice laid-back vibe, but the food is really special at Esther's Kitchen. Would recommend highly, but like I said, make a reservation if you want to go there. Matt?
Yeah, Cipriani for me over at the Wynn. And the reason that I bring this one up, guys, isn't necessarily for the dinner here. It's more of a pro tip. They do a lunch special at Cipriani. And this is, again, a phenomenal food here. But what it is it's one price for an appetizer, for an entree, and you get a dessert with that as well. It's going to run you about $30. So whenever you are talking about getting one of these kind of like super upper tier restaurants, yeah, you're not there for dinner and you don't get the whole dinner feel, but you can go for lunch and you can get the same experience and you get it for a much, much cheaper price. So more of a pro tip than that. If you're at the Wynn, head down there and do the lunch special. It is for the money. It is absolutely what you want to be looking at to get a high-end meal for cheap on the Strip.
Look, there's a lot of amazing restaurants in Las Vegas, and that's we're all foodies, right? That's one of our favorite part of the cities. So something that you can expect from the Vegas 10 is all of us running down these 10 great restaurants. And today it was the 10 best Italian restaurants, in our opinion, and would certainly welcome your comments and suggestions as well on the post. We'll run them back on social media in case you missed any of them. But thanks for joining us for this special installment of the Vegas 10. You can expect more of these lists as the weeks roll on, and every single week we have a new installment for you. Make sure that you go follow the pages over on Twitch and on Facebook, and we'll keep rolling these out for you. So thank you guys for joining us for this week alongside Matt Brown and Jason Mahoney. My name's Dave Farah. Thank you for watching and listening along with the Vegas 10.